There we go. Sorry about that, everyone. I opened the wrong Hangout at first, so looks like we're just waiting for Daniel, so I'm sure he'll come in when he gets here. So we're going to get started. I think we're live now. I'm just going to check the Google Plus Hangout page to make sure we're live and that people can see us. But I've already started to see some people check in. Okay, great. Looks like we're live. All right. Good evening, everyone. Jordan Pedraza here from Remind, based out of San Francisco. Thanks so much for tuning in to our one of many back-to-school kind of PD Hangouts on air that we're having to kind of introduce Remind to everyone, whether you're brand new or you're experienced, just kind of covering what we're up to, what's new, and how you can use it. And we're joined here by an awesome panel of Remind connected educators from all over the country. And so we're going to be hearing from them about their stories and their experience with Remind in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can first get an understanding of what's the latest and greatest with Remind. And then after that, we'll hand over the floor. So hopefully everyone can see my screen now. Great. How does that look?
Yes.
Wonderful.
No.
Oh.
I don't see it either.
Oh.
I just had to click on Jordan's face to get it, and I've got it on my screen.
Oh, okay. Yep. I had to click on Jordan as well.
Cool. And I think for those in the Hangout, you have to just click on my face. Otherwise, everyone should see my screen. All right. So let's begin. One quick housekeeping thing. We do have a Remind class for this session, so this is how you join it in case you're not in it already. You just text this code to 81010, or if you already have the mobile app or you're on the web, just click on the Join Class button and then add that code to join the class. I also wanted to note that we will be recording this session, and we'll definitely share it out afterward. And I'm also going to share a copy of this presentation through the Remind class. So but definitely feel free to use this class throughout this session to submit any questions or comments. All right, so to introduce myself again, my name is Jordan Pedraza, and I lead community at Remind, not at San Francisco. I am in San Francisco, though. And there's my contact information there. So definitely feel free to take note of that in case you would want to follow up with me after this session. So our agenda is pretty straightforward. I'm going to be covering what is Remind and how it works, and then we'll hear stories and kind of share how our community is using it. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. So first, what is Remind? So I think most of us here either already use it or maybe have heard about it before, but just to kind of have a refresher, and for those that may tune in later, Remind is a free text messaging app that lets educators, principals, administrators, team leaders send quick, simple messages to students and parents on any device. So it works on regular phones or text-only phones, smartphones, tablets, desktops, laptops. Your personal contact information always stays private, so no numbers are shared, no private information, and then you can access your message history or transcripts at any time. And then also Remind is free to use, so we like to reiterate that. So it's free for schools, it's free for PTAs or PTOs, it's free for nonprofits, really anything that supports school communities. And why should you use Remind? So there's kind of three main reasons that we always hear from our community. The first is that it's fast and instant. So especially when you have real-time, kind of last-minute or urgent updates or announcements to share, Remind helps you send out real-time communications to your whole school, to a specific group or class, or even just a single person. You can also schedule reminders ahead of time, even specifically down to the minutes and date. And you can send messages pretty much from anywhere, while you're on the go, from your phone, from your office. So we really make sure it's easy to send out information to a group as quickly as possible. Secondly is the reach. So we know that there's lots of different devices and tools that you can use out there to communicate, but oftentimes we want to make sure that we can really reach everyone we need to. And so the power of Remind really comes with our text messaging feature, where people can join your class and get text messages, and it goes straight to their phones. But again, no numbers are shared. Now, if people still choose to get messages in other ways, like email or the web or the mobile app, they can do that too. And on the mobile app, we have the notifications. But really, most importantly, we find that text still tends to be the lowest common denominator for how we can really reach everyone. So that's important. Secondly, translation is also critical. So if you're trying to reach families or students or stakeholders that speak multiple languages, you can translate your messages into over 70 languages, and they can still receive them as text messages. And then also compared to other channels that we may use for communication. You know, we have email, we have phone calls, we might have newsletters or handouts, and sometimes there's definitely more appropriate cases to be using those forms of communication. But oftentimes, if you really want to make sure someone gets a quick update, a text is most effective. Studies have shown that pretty much all texts are read within 30 seconds or so, compared to 22% of emails. And then I'm featuring one of our RCEs here on this call, Carla Jefferson. I love this quote from another webinar that she said, "Book bags are the black hole." And so I know a lot of us have seen how handouts and flyers can get lost even if you're trying to send them home. So that's really where text can kind of help make sure everyone gets the message. And then related to that, lastly, we hear from our community that this is all effective. Being able to quickly communicate to where people actually will read your message enables you to be heard. And that has a lot of different implications and I think leads to more powerful outcomes. So for example, we have a new feature called read receipts and delivery receipts. So you can see who's read your messages and who's missing out. And then we're also rolling out a new feature called activities, which I'll be highlighting in a bit, but it lets you organize events and track participation and even collect funds all in one place and on time. So those are kind of the three reasons why we here, our community members, really appreciate and benefit from Remind. As far as how other educators use it, so I have a few quick stories from some of our community members, and then we're going to hand the floor over to our panel here. But some of the most popular ways to use Remind that we hear. So Tiffany Cannon-Gieser out in Delaware, who teaches 10th grade English, she uses Remind to send activity and assignment reminders. And so from a student's perspective, and we actually asked this, we have a student advisory board, and they said the number one thing they appreciate about Remind is that it helps them remember kind of non-routine things. So last-minute things, out-of-the-ordinary things, an upcoming test or a trip or an event or a special resource. And also that it's just really easy to stay organized because it goes to something that you read every day. They're texting a lot. And so, for example, here, Tiffany has sent messages about a speaker visiting the school or reminders for certain activities or projects or tests coming up. And then also the impact of this, especially what we hear from students, but also from parents, is it's a personal way of communicating as well. Because it goes straight to their phone, it gives us the perception that you're making sure they can succeed, that you're helping them stay organized, stay on top of even those small little things. Because sometimes everyone needs a reminder. And so that's what the bread and butter use case that we hear time and time again from our community. Some other ways we've seen our community use Remind, this is from a principal outside of Southern California, Lil Elementary, and he likes to take lots of pictures throughout the day of little assemblies and activities that the students are working on, and then he shares these pictures home with the parents. So then that way the parents have a window into what's happening at their school and what their children are up to during the day. So it builds trust, it builds transparency, visibility, excitement, engagement, and it's fun. And then related to the parent piece, Miss Watkins out in California, who teaches 2nd grade, she'll use Remind as a platform to extend learning outside of the classroom and get parents involved in that process too. So for example, if, let's say, they covered volcanoes in class earlier today, then at home, she might send a question to parents that they can use. So it's more specific and engaging than, "How was your day, honey?" But rather, "Oh, I heard you learned about volcanoes today. Please tell me the difference between lava and magma." And so we've heard a lot of stories where parents feel even more empowered and informed with what their children are learning, and then they also get to learn along with them. And then we've also seen a lot of Remind classes created for inspiration and motivation and support. And what I love about this is that it's pretty flexible and universal. We've seen educators create classes with each other, principals create classes with their staff, professional learning networks create these with each other. You know, it's pretty broad. And so in this example, Sean Gielard in North Carolina, he uses Remind to send little quotes and just uplifting messages for his team, and maybe sometimes shares little videos and pictures. So it can be really powerful and, again, a personal way to build relationships and improve kind of community building with your group that you're communicating with. And then sometimes we have urgent situations, you know, some kind of outage, maybe a lockdown, some kind of incident where we really need to quickly communicate with a large group of people. And so we've heard stories where whether a teacher or a principal or a staff member will quickly send out a message to hundreds of people at once in order to, you know, ease concerns or address any questions. But again, do it in a quick and instant and personal way. And we heard one story, this was during the LAUSD shutdown last winter, where it was early in the morning and schools were going to be shut down, but parents were already off to work. People weren't checking their voicemail or phones, but then luckily with text, you know, everyone was able to stay informed and know what was happening. And also, if your school chooses to turn this on, or if you choose to turn this on for your class, enabling two-way messaging, so then people can ask questions and reply back to your messages. Again, that's totally optional, but in kind of last-minute urgent situations like these, where people want to confirm information or follow up, it can be really helpful to be able to do that instantly and quickly, but still not have to share any contact information. So those are some of the most popular ways we've seen Remind be used, but now I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to go back to the Hangout, and then what we're going to do is hand the floor over to our other Remind connected educators on the call today, and they're going to share how they use Remind and what their experience has been. So why don't we start on the left here? Elena, do you want to say who you are, where you're from, what you teach or what school you're at, and how you use Remind?
Yeah, hi. My name's Elena, and I'm from Buckhorn High School, where I teach at. It's in Newmarket, Alabama. I have used Remind this past year tremendously. I've had an account with Remind for the past couple of years, but it's been really helpful this past year. We went to an AB schedule, so not seeing my students every day has been hard for them to remember, even teaching high school. I teach mostly ninth graders, so that should explain a lot, I guess. But they have really enjoyed the fact that I was using Remind a lot. I would have a Remind sent out to them to remind them about a test or an assignment they needed to bring in, or a form they had to have signed, or whatever the case may be. They would always come in, a couple of days later, and would always say, "Oh, thank you for sending that Remind out because I completely forgot," or whatever. So it's been a great tool for me, and I've really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Oop, I think I was muted there. Amy, do you want to go next?
Okay. I use Remind as an elementary teacher to send out daily homework messages to the parents because that's who mostly joins my Remind. I have also sent out messages individually to parents. It's very helpful because I have found they respond quicker to that than an email, as you had stated in your presentation. They also respond quicker to that because they know it's coming directly from me than if I try to pick up the classroom phone and make a phone call home. Because our phone system shows up as like a state number now on the, I can't get it out, where your phone number shows up. But anyway, it is much helpful. Much more helpful that way, and it also gives me a recorded a record of everything that I have said with parents, and if I needed to bring anything up and show my principal this is what the parent said, it's right there in black and white. So I I have used Remind for 3, 4, maybe 5 years, whatever, as long as it's been out. As soon as I found out about the app, I started using it, and I absolutely love it. I'm probably the one that uses it the absolute most in my elementary school.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Carla, want to go next?
Sorry, I couldn't click the mute button. So I am an instructional technology coordinator for my school district. And there's just me, and we don't have specialists or facilitators in the school. I used Remind maybe for 3 years while I was in the classroom. I'm starting year 2 of this job, maybe 2 years, because as Jordan shared earlier in her presentation, I taught 6th grade for 14 years, and 6th graders for us is the first year of middle school, and they could not keep up with anything. And a lot of times parents say, you know, they're getting older, I should back off. And so we get into the discussion of, but they said they didn't have homework, you know. So initially when we started it as a team, and we created a group Gmail account that we use to log in, and now Remind has the feature where you can add other teachers. So that is absolutely awesome. And so we would do a lot like what Amy said. We sent out homework reminders, and then as we, parents, we would schedule them, and so, parents just kind of lived by it. We would use it to play games at home. We used quizzes, which is like a formative assessment tool, and so I would text out the code to them, and so parents would say, now if we're going to play on Wednesday, we can't play until after 7 because in the South we have Bible study on Wednesday nights. And so I continue that even in this role. So what I do now is, instead of sending homework to parents and students, I send out tips and reminders to my teachers and resources to kind of keep them aware of what's going on. Just because I'm one person, we have 23 schools, and I mean, it takes me 2 months to even visit every school, and the texting is, it doesn't get lost in the sea of emails that teachers sometimes receive. So we even do giveaways. We have a podcast, the DCSD Transforms podcast, and so on the day after, I'll say, we highlight those teachers that I give a shout out to those teachers that we highlight in the podcast, and then I'll say, check back Wednesday or Thursday for a question for a giveaway. So I may ask them a question about something that was in that podcast, just to try to keep them involved and interacting with technology in a positive way, in a way that can enhance teaching and learning.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. Daniel, you're up next.
Perfect. My name is Daniel Grunberg, and I teach at Leonardtown Elementary School in California, Maryland. And I've used Remind for the past 3 years in middle school, because that's where I used to be. And as every teacher has stated, it's two-way communication, so that I give the students the opportunity to write down their homework and go home to do it. And the parents know that the students do this, but with those students who don't necessarily follow through with their homework, the parents already know what the homework is because it's been sent to them in a text message or email. I also they're able to download any information from the app, which is excellent. And one of the other things I use it for is field trip reminders, important days of the media center, going to the computer lab. And also one of the some more on the way back with the estimated time of arrival to the school, so that parents know, oh, the parents and guardians are able to plan when they need to pick their students up.
Nice. Let's see, Kristen, you're up next.
Okay. For some reason, I can't get my camera to work. But I teach in Long Island, New York, and I've been using Remind forever. I teach AP Chemistry and a couple other classes. I basically just use it for reminders in each section, especially during breaks. If we have like a long break, but we have homework over that break, I remind them during the breaks. But they're older students, so usually they don't need to have a lot of reminds because we're trying to wean them off of that. But it is really good for, like we were saying, reminders to bring something into class that I really need that day. Or if we have something coming up with a lab that has some kind of safety precaution, it's really nice to have that going out the night before. More than that, we have it separated in my class so that the students sign up in one section, and then their parents sign up in a separate section. That way I can write just to the parents and let them know what's going on, and like you said before, it's way easier and more efficient and timely than email is, and they sign up themselves, and where I don't mess up their email address trying to type it in. I also am one of the co-founders of a group on Long Island that connects teachers, and so we use it to send out reminders for that group and where we're going to be meeting, which is kind of neat. Our principal started using it for reminders at school, and then our union has been using it for just reminders for our union meetings and things that we need to bring to work. And starting to finally infiltrate our clubs and sports, and they're starting to use it now too. So our whole district has kind of grown, and I don't like to take too much credit for it, but when I found it a million years ago, it feels like, I started teaching it in our New Teacher Institute, and so that kind of helped spread the word.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristen. And I love the picture of your dog in your profile. Cool. Last but not least, Michael, who's actually Remind user number 7, so one of our early adopters there. Oh no, it looks like Michael froze there, so we'll give him a chance to get reconnected. But we're just going to kind of move along and start talking about what's... Oh, there we go. We can hear you now. Sorry about that. Or maybe not. I jinxed it. Apologies for the technical difficulties out there, but Michael's amazing. If he does make it back in, definitely love him, and he's a great guy. So why don't we just kind of move along, and hopefully Michael will get reconnected. Michael, are you good now?
I'm back, I think.
Okay, let's try it one more time.
All right. I don't know what you heard or didn't hear. The Wi-Fi went out for some reason. So my name is Michael Buse. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Knox Gifted Academy in Chandler, Arizona. We're just kind of southeast of Phoenix.
Oh no, it looks like we lost him again. Sorry about that, everyone. So we'll just continue on, and hopefully we'll get to hear from Michael in a bit. So I'm going to share my screen again and continue on the presentation. All right, so sharing my screen. Okay, so going back here, hopefully you see my screen again. And for those in the Hangout, you just click on my face again if you're not muted. So how does Remind work? So I think a lot of us have already heard of Remind, already use it, but just to have as a refresher out there, the 3 steps to get started are basically, 1, create a class. So after you create your account on the web or the mobile app, you just create a class, and we ask for your role. So you can indicate whether you're a student, a parent, a teacher, or an administrator. And then for each class you create, it can be for whatever group you need to communicate with. So different periods, teams, subjects, clubs, groups, teams, etc. So after you create a class, the next step is to add people in it. So there's lots of ways to do this, and I'm going to walk through how you can get people in your class. But basically, you can either send them an invitation, or you can tell them your class code in person. And then people can join your class through many different options: text, the mobile app, email, or web. And then lastly, once you've created your class and you've added your people, then you can start sending messages. That's it. So super straightforward. No muss, no fuss, and it's all for free. So you can send a message to the whole group or the whole class, a small group with up to 10 other people in a group chat, or an individual message to just one other person, and that would be a private one-to-one chat. So you can send all kinds of messages about upcoming events, last-minute reminders or changes, assignment information, celebrating achievements, and there's really no limit. We've seen lots of creative ways people send messages, as you've already heard from our Remind Connected educators earlier. So how do you kind of work the nuts and bolts of Remind? So for creating a class, you can do this on the web or the app. So on the web, once you've logged in, on the left-hand side, we show you all the classes you own. And there's a button to create a class. And then similarly on the app, whether you're on iPhone or Android, you see the same thing. You see your list of classes, and there's always a button to create a class with a little plus sign. So if you just click on those, then that opens up a window to create a class. And then when you're creating your class, there's a few things you can customize. You can adjust the class name, you can customize your class code, and you can even choose your own little class icon. And I think we have about 20 different options depending on what your subject or topic is for your class. So a lot of people don't know that you can go back and change your class name or code or icon at any time. So you can always do that on the web or on the mobile app. And then also, and I'll cover this in a little bit more detail, but you can add co-teachers or co-owners to your class. So let's say you're co-teaching a certain grade level or subject, and you want to be able to have your co-teacher be able to send out messages as well to your class, but then not have to have them create a separate class and account and all that. So you can just make sure that they're subscribed to your class first as a teacher, and then you can always add them as a class owner. And then that way, either of you can send out messages and receive them. So after you've created your class, this is how you add people. On the web, we've kind of reorganized the layout, and I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit. But essentially, whenever you click on a class, we show you a tile in the upper left-hand corner, and there's a little People tab. And then there's a little button that shows you how to add people. It has a plus sign. Usually the plus sign is either to create or add people. So if you click on that, that takes you to the instructions for how to get people in your class. Similarly, on the mobile app, if you click on the People tab in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a button to add people as well, with also another plus sign. And then once you click on those, we show you 4 different options for adding people to your class. Some of these you probably are already familiar with, but there's some new changes, though, that I do want to highlight. So the 4 options for adding people: 1, you can share the code in person. So let's say you're all in class together and you just tell people the code and have them pull out their phones and text it in. Then that's one way you can have them join your class. The second way is to add them directly if you already have their contact info. The third is to share a link so people can join from different places. And then the fourth is to print out a handout or PDF and spread the word to join your class that way. And so when you click on this kind of Add People button in the mobile app or the web, you'll see this menu of these 4 options at all times. And actually, I should note, on the web, you do see the Principal PDFs option or the handout option, whereas on the app, you only see 3 options: how to join in person, share a link, or add people directly. So now I'm just going to quickly highlight how these options work. So again, I mentioned the in-person instructions is best when you're there in person together. So in a class, at an event, maybe a back-to-school night, parent-teacher conference, some assembly, this is probably the quickest way to get people in your class. You just show them this screen. You can open up your phone or on your computer. You tell them the code to text to, and then they can text to our short number, 81010, or we have the 10-digit regular number in case people have trouble using the 81010 number. And then same thing is shown on the mobile app. Now, for adding people directly, this is new. So oftentimes we hear that it's challenging to get everyone in your class. Well, now we've added a feature where you can automatically add people in if you have their names and email addresses or phone numbers. So how you access this, if you're on the web or on the mobile app, you should see a button that either says add people directly or phone and email contacts. So it basically has the blue little email envelope. So if you click on that, let's say on the web, you see two columns where you can put in people's names and then their contact info. And the cool thing about this is that you can enter it one by one or manually, or you can copy and paste from a spreadsheet and then paste it into your columns right there. And then if you're on your phone, let's say you already have some people's contact info on your phone and you just want to add them to your class, you can do that here too. So you just click on the Add People Directly button, and then we'll ask you to show your phone contacts, and then you can just scroll through your contacts and then add people. And then a question we always get is, do people still have the ability to opt out? Yes, they always do. And in fact, if you add people directly, they get a little notification that they've been added to your class and what it's for, and then instructions to opt out. So, but 9 times out of 10, we've heard so far, when people add people directly, there really aren't any complaints. They get what it works, how it works, and what it's for, and it goes pretty well. And just to highlight this new direct add feature again, just to summarize, when you're on the web, we show you 2 columns when you click on the phone and email contacts button. And so you can copy paste from a list or a sheet, or you can enter it one by one. And then the other question we get is, if you add just names and email addresses, that doesn't mean people will only receive notifications by email. They can still choose to get them by text or push. It's really just creating a Remind account for them, and then when they log in, they can choose how they want to get notifications. The third option is to share a link. So let's say you want to embed this link on a website or on a handout or in an email. You can click on the Share a Link button, either on the web or the app, and then we give you the link to join your class. And then lastly, the principal handout. So again, this is only available on the web, but once you log in and you click the Add People button, you'll see the principal PDFs option. And then one thing that a lot of people don't know is that you can customize the language in up to 6 other languages for the whole PDF. So that's automatically done for you. And then as far as what the PDF looks like, it basically just has the link for your class and how to join it, and a little bit more context into what Remind is and how it works. So those are the options for how to get people in your class. And then the last step is, after you've created your class and added people in it, then you're ready to send your messages. So to do that on the web, you're logged in. At the top, we have this big blue square with a pencil in it. That's your Compose button. So if you click on that, we give you some options for how you want to send your message. So you can send to the whole class, start a group conversation with 10 other people or less. You can send an individual message, or you can create a new activity. And that I will be talking about in a bit. And then similarly on the mobile app, so we've moved it to the bottom. So just look for that similar blue pencil button. When you click on that, then you see 4 options for sending out new material. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about some other popular Remind features. And for some of you, you may have already heard about it and use it. For others, this may be new, but just want to make sure everyone's aware of what's available. So chat. So we launched this about a year ago, last year, and essentially it just lets people have 2-way conversations or group conversations on Remind. But again, it works on all devices and no numbers are ever shared. So let's say I've created a class, I'm sending out my announcements, and then I've turned on the ability to have 2-way messaging. And you can always turn that on or off in your settings. So I can have students or parents or my colleagues reply back to me, even over text. And I still see their replies, they still see my information, but it's private, everything's archived, and again, no numbers are shared. And this works over text, this works over email, so if someone's receiving your messages via email, they can just reply back via email, and you'll still see their reply in however you're looking at your Remind account. We also have an office hours feature, so you can indicate when you're available for these chats. So you just go to your profile and then message settings, and you can choose which days and times that you're available. And so when people try to message you outside of your office hours, they see a little bump notification that lets them know that you're not available. Scheduling messages is probably one of our most popular features. So let's say, it's Sunday night and you want to send out a reminder about a field trip tomorrow, and you don't want to have to worry about remembering to remind others about the field trip tomorrow. So you can take the time to kind of pre-schedule your message in advance, write it all out, attach whatever content you need, and then choose the date and the exact time, down to the minute, for when that message will go out. So that's available to you. You just look for the little calendar button when you're composing your message. And you can do this while you're on the go, on your mobile app or the web. And then with Translate, so let's say you have English language learners or just multiple languages spoken in your community or your class. You can write your language, you can write your message in the language you prefer, and then you look for the little globe button that we have. That's also on the app or the web. And then you see a drop-down menu for over 70 languages to choose from. And you just click on one of those languages, and it will automatically translate your message for you. And this is powered by Google Translate. One best practice we've heard is that you can create classes by language. So then that way you're not having to send both English and Spanish messages to all those speakers all at once. You can create a class just for English speakers and then one for Spanish speakers, and then they always get things in a consistent language. And then a lesser known feature, but very popular and helpful, is adding attachments. So if you have any photos or files or links or even voice clips, you can attach those to your messages. I should note that voice clips only works on the mobile app today, but otherwise everything else is pretty much supported. We do often get asked if videos are supported. You can embed links to videos, like a YouTube link or something like that, but attaching videos is not yet available. And then lastly, exporting transcripts. So let's say you need to document homeschool communication, or you need to reference previous messages from before for some reason. So you can obtain full transcripts of all the messages and conversations you've had across all of your classes, and you can sort by certain dates. So you just access this on the web. It's only available on the web, but you go to your account, and then you find the print button on the left-hand side, and then there's the announcements export option at the top. And so you can choose whether it's for all of your classes or individual classes. And you can also export a list of your class participants as well, if you ever need to reference that. So what's new on Remind? There's lots of good things to call out. So first I wanted to mention the new layout. So basically what we've been working on is reorganizing Remind so that it's more streamlined. As more people are coming on board school-wide, we just want to make it easy for you to manage all of your messaging in one place. And so the way we've organized it is by your classes, which is kind of the heart and soul of Remind anyway. It's just interesting that we've gotten feedback as we've tried to figure out the best way to lay this out, that organizing it by classes for the most part is a helpful way to do that. So both on the web and on mobile, the first kind of your home screen is really your list of classes. And then from there, clicking on each class, you can access the people that are in your classes, messaging them, sending announcements, sending chats to them, managing any of your class settings. So it's really all anchored around your classes. And then on the mobile app in particular here, I wanted to call out our three main buttons that I mentioned earlier, but wanted to call out again. So at the bottom here, messages, you click on this once you're in your class to see what you've already sent and what you've received. So kind of think of it like an inbox. And then in the middle here, this blue pencil button lets you compose new messages. And then from there, you can choose whether it goes out to everyone or just a small group or individuals. And then finally, for people, that shows you who's in your class. And as people are joining it, you will always get an updated list. And then from there, you can always add more people if you want. Now, if you still have any feedback on this new layout, please feel free to let us know. There's a support contact info right there, or feel free to tweet at us, or feel free to contact me, message me on Remind. We definitely value your feedback. And then for the web, real quickly here, so again, we list the classes on the left here. First by your school, so if you own a school-wide class as an administrator, you'll see that at the top. Otherwise, if you've created any classes, you'll see them right there, and then if you've joined any classes, they'll be at the bottom. And then if you ever want to change your class settings, so the name, the code, the icon, things like that, just look for the little gear in the upper left-hand corner. And then the People tab, I mentioned this before, but this is where you can see who's in your class and adding more people. And then activities, which I will be covering very soon. The ability to create and organize events is right there. And then the second column is all your messages, so whether you've sent something or received it, all that in one place. There's the compose button, that blue pencil again. And then if you want to see all of your classes, you don't really want to segment it out by the classes you own or that you're a member of, you can always just click on that bottom option there. And then finally, if you ever want to access your profile settings or contact us for help, that's in the bottom. So now, this new feature that I've been referencing a little bit, activities. So let's say you're organizing a field trip or a fundraiser or maybe some shirt sales for a department. And with a bunch of paper and different forms and signatures, it can get a little hairy. So with Remind, we're trying to save you some time and reduce the hassle out of coordinating these kinds of events. So with activities, you can create an event or an activity, and you can indicate whatever information you need to, what it is, location, the date and time, and then from there you can send it out to your class and track participation, track RSVPs, track who's involved, and then message with everyone that's involved with your activity. So you can coordinate volunteers or attendees. And then also optionally, but if you need to, you can even collect funds for your activity. So if it's for a field trip payment, if it's for a shirt sale, if it's for a fundraiser, anything like that, you can collect funds electronically through debit and credit cards. And then for you, let's say you're an educator or an administrator, you can add a school bank account and then and also give access to your administrator if it's not you. So then that way, for any funds that you do collect for activities, you can deposit it to the school directly. So it doesn't touch your personal bank account. So you can add any accounts that you need in your account settings under the Transactions tab. So let me quickly show where that is. So again, you go to your profile. This is only available on the web right now, but it will be coming to the mobile app soon. So you click on your profile, and then there's a Transactions tab, and that's where you can add a school bank account or any bank account you choose. And then also, if you ever have to pay for any activities, you can also add your own credit or debit card information. And then to show a little bit of what it looks like for recipients. So let's say you've created your event, you're going on a field trip, and you want to start collecting responses. So we show a little RSVP window where people can indicate their status, and then if there's a payment involved, they'll see it front and center, and they'll have a little window to add their payment information. One other little cool feature is once people have responded to your event, we show them a little Google Calendar link so they can add the activity to Google Calendar. Some other things that are new that you may or may not have heard of. So co-teachers, I mentioned this earlier, but let's say you want to have others be able to send out messages to your class, but not have them create a separate new class or a separate new account or anything like that. You can just add a class owner, and you can do this from the web or the mobile app. So you just want to go to the class itself first, and then go to the people, and then see whoever you want to add. And then once you click on a person, you'll see a range of options. And there's some other things that we've added to recently, such as blocking or reporting users. But you can also add them as a class owner. And then, Michael, I saw that you asked about this earlier, but read and delivery receipts. So basically, we show you little status indicators after you've sent out a message, whether on the mobile app or the web. We'll let you know who's received and read your messages and who's missing out. So if you see a green check mark with a little circle, that means it was sent and you're all good to go. If you see a yellow exclamation point, that means there's an error. That means that someone didn't get your message. And then if I'm on the mobile app or web, if I hover over that little check mark or exclamation point, if I click on that, it'll show me a delivery summary. And so there I can see how many errors there were, or how many received the message and how many have read it. And then I can even see a breakdown of who's read it and who's received it too. Another one that I'm very excited about, I think this will make everyone's lives a little easier, either as an educator or as an administrator or any team lead. Let's say you have different kinds of roles all in your class, and maybe it's annoying to send out one message carte blanche to everyone, but you only want to really segment it out to certain subgroups. So we now just added the ability to segment out who you send your message to within a class. So let's say you have a mix of some students, some parents, some teachers, or administrators in a class. So when you send out your message, this is on the web or the mobile app, you'll see a menu that shows you, oh, do you want to send to everyone or just parents or students or whoever? And then when you click on the right group, then it will only go to whoever's in that role to receive that message. And then for administrators that are using Remind, and we're doing a PD session on this tomorrow, but they are able to manage all people out of school. And if there's ever any errors, like let's say someone is marked as a student, but they're really a parent or vice versa, that can always be corrected. And then you as a class owner, if you see that in your own class, you can always correct that as well. So this is very new, and we're excited to see what y'all think. Lastly, I think this is one of the underestimated or underrated features that we have, but our class embed widget. So let's say you have a website, a blog, any kind of page, and you don't want to have to take time to update your communication in multiple places. So with this widget that we provide to you, you can copy some code and paste it into your site, and then it automatically pushes out whatever you're sending on Remind. So it just really streamlines your communication, especially if you know people are going to be checking a site or a blog. So to access the widget, you just log in on the web, and then you go to your profile and then look for the widget button. And then here's an example here. This is also from Leal Elementary. And they use a Remind class for all of their parents, and so they've embedded their class, the Leal Lions, onto their school website. So that's one less place that they have to update communication for. All right, so I'm going to pause there and open up for any questions. So for those of you that are in the Remind class, just feel free to reply back to me. I have my phone right here handy for any questions you're sending in. But yeah, and then also for those that are on the Google Plus page, feel free to post any questions there. And then for you here in the Hangout as well, like maybe there are some new things you saw or some questions you had. Definitely feel free to share any questions. Looks like there's already been some discussion here. Michael, I saw your question about is the Google Calendar feature web only? Is that the question?
No. What was what did you say? No, it was the sending them out to the kind of the subgroups.
Oh, got it. Yeah, so that is both on the web and the mobile app. Yeah.
Is that feature live now?
I believe it is. There is a chance that maybe you have, not everyone has gotten it yet, since it might be gradually be rolling out, but eventually everyone will have access. I'm just checking right now, actually, on my mobile app. Okay, it looks like on mobile it's not quite out yet.
Okay.
So yeah, but soon. If you don't see it yet, you should get it soon.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I put in another question there about the widget. Let's say because I think you can add an animated GIF, right, to an announcement. So would something like that behave the same way on the widget, or would it look a little bit different, or do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, good question. So I believe no matter what you've posted onto your class, it should appear on the feed. It shouldn't affect it.
Great.
I see some questions coming in from the Remind class. Oh, go ahead. Yes. Oh, the sound's cutting out.
Ooh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I'll stand a little closer to the house and the router. One of my websites. Can you hear me now?
It's still a little choppy.
Can you hear me now?
I think so. Like
Okay.
the
I
Verizon
feel
guy
like
now.
okay. Yeah, exactly. I feel like the Verizon guy. In regards to the widget, I was using it for one of my websites, and everything that I would post or type into my computer and send out, it would immediately pop up on my website the same exact way that it would show up on student cell phones or in their emails.
Mm-hmm. Good
So
enough.
I mean that was perfect. Even I've never done it with the gifts, but parents really like it because not all the parents that I teach have cell phones, but they're able to go to the library and get on the internet, and they're able to see that too. So that's perfect.
Good to know. Good to know. Let's see. Getting some questions from the Remind class. Question about read receipts. Does it show who saw it only if they open the app or web, or if they open the text message? That's a great question. So I believe for the delivery part, that's making sure they received it, whether it's over text, over app, over mobile, over email, etc. And then for reading it, I believe if the text is opened or if they saw and clicked on the message on the web or the app. So it should apply across all the different channels that people can receive messages. See, a question from Mr. Peterson. What is the cost, percentage or fixed, to process a credit card in the activity section? That's also a great question. So it's a 5% fee, and we round up to the nearest 50 cents. So for example, let's say your event is $10, so there would just be a 50-cent fee there. Question from Jesse. Can parents or students chat in their language to respond to my messages? That's another great question. So if everyone's using the mobile app or the web, yes. So if you're sending out a message in English and then they set their web language to Spanish, then they can always toggle the language. So I think by default it will come in as Spanish for them. If they want to translate it back to English, they can do that. And then for you, if they sent back a response, let's say in Spanish, and your web or mobile app is set in English, you can also toggle back and forth. I believe we display it in your default language, and then you should see a little button that says Translate, and if you click on that, then it can toggle the language. Someone asked me to walk through the widget again, so let me just share my screen really quickly. Yeah, this is one of our lesser known features that I think is pretty powerful. So let me find it here. So basically, the way it works is you can choose which class you want to kind of push out to another site. And then let me go into my Remind here, actually. We use it here at Remind too quite heavily. So you go to your profile in the upper or bottom lower left-hand corner, and then click on Account, and then widgets there. So this is only on the web. You can't access on the mobile app. And then from here, I can choose which of my classes that I want to embed on a site. So if I want to say embed everything, which might get a little crazy, but I can preview it. So here I can see all of my class messages in one place, and that's what it would look like on a site. Or I can copy the code, and then whatever site I'm updating, I can just paste that wherever I need to on my site. And then if I have individual classes that I want to embed instead, so like let's say from our Not at ISTE class, so this one it only shows my Not at ISTE class messages. And again, I can copy the code and embed it wherever I choose. And then we include the instructions here. You know, generally this is how it works for all websites, but we have some specific links if you're using Google Sites or Wix. All right, let me see if there are any other questions coming in. I think we're almost just about at time, so last call for any questions. And any last questions on the Hangout here too?
Thank you guys for continuing to innovate and iterate, I guess. would be the two words.
Thank you. No, we're happy to. Yeah, just trying to make teachers and schools' lives easier. So it's an honor.
Well, it's an amazing tool for anyone who has never used it before. And initially when we started, we just started with our 6th grade, and our 7th grade teachers weren't sure they were going to use it, and our parents demanded it. So, I mean, it's just like Michael said, it's an amazing tool. It continues to evolve, and it seems like anything that you could ask for, it is developed.
This one.
Thank you.
I've taught, this is my 26th year of teaching. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yep.
This is my 26th year of teaching, and I absolutely love Remind, and I hope that all the new teachers out there will start using it, and they can probably even end up teaching me some things, because I've learned some things tonight, too, about the widget, because I've not used that before. Thank you so much, Jordan. Thank you, everybody, and I'll mute now.
Thanks, Amy.
I was just going to say that, I created all my classes using it this past year, and at the end of the school year, I told my students I was going to take them out, getting prepared for the next school year of those classes, and I created an info page and told them that if they wanted to join the info page just for anything that was related to the school, not necessarily each individual class that they were in, but just our school, and they were all like, yes, I want to join, what's the code, and so so that was really neat that they were all excited about that, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's a wonderful tool, and it really helped me out a lot this past school year, and I can't wait to use it for the new school year.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Cool. All right. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you for taking the time during the summer to share your stories and examples and asking great questions too, and just making sure we're building what's most useful. And thanks to everyone else out there tuning in and your questions and participating. We hope this was helpful. And again, this has all been recorded, so we're going to share it out over the Remind class and on the interwebs, so look out for that. And I'm also going to share out this presentation in case you want to take a closer look at anything. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.